discoveries, sort of the sexiest discovery of them is, as we know now, sort of unifying general relativity and quantum mechanics. So coming up with a theory of everything. Do you think it could push towards that direction, almost like theoretical physics discoveries?
If an AI cannot figure out new physics, it's clearly not equal to humans, let alone nor has surpassed humans, because humans have figured out new physics. They've just physics is just understanding, deepening one's insight into how reality works, and then there's engineering, which is inventing things that have never existed. Now, the range of possibilities for engineering is far greater than for physics, because we once you figure out the rules of the universe, that's it. You've discovered things that already existed, but from that you can then build technologies that are really almost limitless in the variety and it's like once you understand the rules of the game properly, and with current physics we do, at least at a local level, understand how physics works very well. Where our ability to predict things is incredibly good. Quantum mechanics is the degree to which quantum mechanics can predict outcomes is incredible. That was my hardest class in college, by the way. my senior quantum mechanics class was harder than all of my other classes put together.
To get an AI system, a large language model, to reliably be as reliable as quantum mechanics and physics is very difficult.
Yeah, you have to test any conclusions against the ground truth of reality. Reality is the ultimate judge. Like physics is the law, everything else is a recommendation. I've seen plenty of people break the laws made by man, but none break the laws made by physics.
It's a good test, actually. If this LLM understands and matches physics, then you can more reliably trust whatever it thinks about the current state of politics.
And it's also not the case currently that even its internal logic is not consistent. So it's especially with the approach of like just predicting token, predict token. It's like a vector sum. You're summing up a bunch of vectors. You can get drift. So as those, a little bit of error adds up, and by the time you are many tokens down the path, it doesn't make any sense.
So it has to be somehow self-aware about the drift.
It has to be self-aware about the drift, and then look at the thing as a gestalt, as a whole, and say, does it have coherence as a whole? So, when authors write books, that they will write the book and then they'll go and revise it, to take into account, all the end and the beginning and the middle, and rewrite it to achieve coherence, so that it doesn't end up in a nonsensical place.
Maybe the process of revising is what reasoning is, and then that's the process of revising is how you get closer and closer to truth. Maybe you at least I approach it that way. You just say a bunch of bullshit first, and then you get it better. You start at bullshit, and then you get
you create a
closer.
draft, and then you iterate on that draft until it has coherence, until it all adds up.
So another question about theory of everything, but for intelligence. Do you think there exists, as you're exploring this with XAI, creating this intelligence system, do you think there is a theory of intelligence where you get to understand what is the I in AGI, and what is the I in human intelligence?
There's no I in human American.
That's going to be stuck in my head now. Yeah. There's no me and whatever. In quantum mechanics. Oh, wait. Is that part of the process of discovering, understanding the universe, is understanding intelligence?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we need to understand intelligence, understand consciousness. There are some sort of fundamental questions of like, what is thought? What is emotion?
Yeah.
Is it really just one atom bumping into another atom? It feels like something more than that. So I think we're probably missing some really big things. Like some really big things.
Something that'll be obvious in retrospect.
Yeah.
If there's a giant. Like, you put the whole consciousness, emotion.
Well, some people would call it like a soul. You know, religion
Yeah,
would be a soul. Like you feel like you're you, right? I mean, you don't feel like you're just a collection of atoms. But in what dimension does thought exist? What dimension do emotions exist? We feel them very strongly. I suspect there's more to it than atoms bumping into atoms.
And maybe AI could pave the path to the discovery of whatever the hell that thing is.
Yeah. What is consciousness? Like, when you put the atoms in a particular shape, why are they able to form thoughts and take action and feelings?
And even if it is an illusion, why is this illusion so compelling?
Yeah.
Like
why does this illusion exist?
Yeah.
On what plane does this illusion exist?
Yeah.
And that sometimes I wonder is, you know, either perhaps everything's conscious or nothing's conscious. One of the two.
I like the former. Everything conscious. More fun.
It just seems more fun, yes. But we're composed of atoms, and those atoms are composed of quarks and leptons. And those quarks and leptons have been around since the beginning of the universe.
The beginning of the universe.
Right. What seems to be the beginning of the universe?
The first time we talked, you said, which is surreal to think that this discussion was happening and becoming a reality. I asked you what question would you ask an AGI system once you create it, and you said, what's outside the simulation? Question. Good question.
Yeah.
But it seems like with Grok, you started to literally, this system's goal is to be able to ask such questions, to answer such questions,
Yeah.
to ask such questions.
Where are the aliens? That's one of the Fermi paradox question. A lot of people have asked me if I've seen any evidence of aliens. I haven't, which is kind of concerning because then I think I probably prefer to at least have seen some archaeological evidence of aliens. But to the best of my knowledge, there is no proof. I'm not aware of any evidence of aliens. If they're out there, they're very subtle. We might just be the only consciousness, at least in the galaxy. And if you look at, say, the history of Earth, one is to believe the archaeological record, Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. Civilization, as measured from the first writing, is only about 5,000 years old. We have to give some credit there to the ancient Sumerians, who aren't around anymore. I think it was the archaic pre-cuneiform was the first actual symbolic representation. But only about 5,000 years ago. I think that's a good date for when, say, civilization started. That's 1/1,000,000th of Earth's existence. So civilization has been around, it's really a flash in the pan, so far. And why did it take so long? For, 4.5 billion years. For the vast majority of the time, there was no life, and then there was archaic bacteria for a very long time. And then you had mitochondria get captured, multicellular life, differentiation into plants and animals, life moving from the oceans to land, mammals, higher brain functions. And the sun is expanding slowly, but it will overheat. It will heat the Earth up at some point in the future, boil the oceans, and Earth will become like Venus, where life as we know it is impossible. So if we do not become multiplanetary, and ultimately go beyond our solar system, annihilation of all life on Earth is a certainty. A certainty. And it could be as little as, on the galactic timescale, 500 million years. A long time by human standards, but that's only 10% longer than Earth has been around at all. So if life had taken 10% longer to evolve on Earth, it wouldn't exist at all.
We got a deadline coming up.
Yeah.
Better hurry. But that said, as you said, humans, intelligent life on Earth developed a lot of cool stuff very quickly. So
Yes.
it seems like becoming a multiplanetary is almost inevitable. Unless we destroy
We need to do it. I mean, it's not... I mean, I suspect that if we are able to go out there and explore other star systems, there's a good chance we find a whole bunch of long-dead one-planet civilizations that never made it past their home planet.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. Also fascinating.
I mean, there are various explanations for the Fermi paradox, and one is the sort of, there's these great filters which civilizations don't pass through. And one of those great filters is, do you become a multi-planet civilization or not? And if you don't, it's simply a matter of time before something happens on your planet, either natural or man-made, that causes us to die out, like the dinosaurs. Where are they now? They didn't have spaces. So,
I think the more likely thing is just empathize with the aliens. That they found us and they're protecting us and letting us be.
I hope so. And nice aliens.
Just like the tribes in the Amazon. They all contact the tribes for protecting them. That's what,
that would be a nice explanation.
Or you could have like, what was it? I think Andre Kapathy said it's like the ants in the Amazon asking, where's everybody?
Well, they do run into a lot of other ants.
That's true.
Those ant wars.
Sounds like a good TV show.
Yeah, they literally have these big wars between various ants.
Yeah, maybe I'm just dismissing all the different diversity of ants.
Is that Werner Herzog done what's really hilarious? Have you heard it?
No, I have not.
Awesome.
But Werner Herzog is a way.
You should play it for the, as an interlude in the...
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. It's awesome.
I love him so much.
Yeah, great.
Was he the director of Happy People Life in the Taiga? I think also.
I did that bear documentary.
The bear
And
documentary.
this thing about penguins.
The analysis, the psychoanalysis of a penguin.
Yeah, the penguin's like headed for like mountains like that are like 70 miles away.
Yeah.
And penguin is just headed for doom, basically.
Well, he had a cynical take. He could be just a brave explorer, and there would be great stories told about him amongst the penguin population for many centuries to come. What were we talking about? Okay.
Yes, aliens. I mean, I don't know. Look, I think the smart move is just, this is the first time in the history of Earth that it's been possible for life to extend beyond Earth. That window is open. Now, it may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time. It may be open now and then never open again. So I think the smart move here is to make life multiplanetary while it is possible to do so. We don't want to be one of those lame one-planet civilizations that just dies out.
No, those are lame.
Yeah, lame. Self-respecting civilization would be one planet.
There's not going to be a Wikipedia entry for one of those. And pause. Does SpaceX have an official policy for when we meet aliens? No. Okay. That seems irresponsible.
I mean, if I see the slightest indication that there are aliens, I will immediately post on the X platform.
Yeah.
Anything I know.
Yeah.
It could be the most liked, reposted post of all time.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have more satellites up there right now than everyone else combined. So, we know if we're going to maneuver around something, and we don't have to maneuver around anything.
Go to the big questions once again. You said you're with Einstein, that you believe in the God of Spinoza.
Yes.
So that's that view that God is like the universe and reveals himself through the laws of physics, or as Einstein said, through the lawful harmony of the world.
Yeah, I would agree that God, the simulator, or whatever the supreme beings reveal themselves through the physics, the creators of this existence. And it's incumbent upon us to try to understand more about this wondrous creation.
Who created this thing? Who's running this thing? Like, embodying it into a singular question with a sexy word on top of it is like focusing the mind to understand. It does seem like there's a again, it could be an illusion. It seems like there's a purpose, that there's an underlying master plan of some kind. And it seems like
it may not be a master plan, in the sense that maybe an interesting answer to the question of determinism versus free will is that if we are in a simulation, the reason that these higher beings would hold a simulation is to see what happens. So they don't know what happens. Otherwise they wouldn't hold the simulation. So when humans create simulations, so SpaceX and Tesla, we create simulations all the time. Especially for the rocket, you have to run a lot of simulations to understand what's going to happen, because you can't really test the rocket until it goes to space, and you want it to work. So you have to simulate subsonic, transonic, supersonic, hypersonic ascent, and then coming back through high heating and orbital dynamics. All this is going to be simulated. So you don't get very many kicks in the can. But we run simulations to see what happens. If we knew what happens, we wouldn't run simulations. So if there's, so whoever created this existence, they're running it because they don't know what's going to happen, not because they do.
So maybe we both play Diablo. Maybe Diablo was created to see if Druid, your character, could defeat Uber Lilith at the end. They didn't know.
Well, the funny thing is that Uber Lilith, the title is Hatred Incarnate.
Yeah.
And right now, I guess you can ask the Diablo team, but it's almost impossible to defeat Hatred in the Eternal Realm.
Yeah, you've streamed yourself dominating Tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon.
I can,
and still...
I can cruise through Tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons like a stroll in the park.
Still you're defeated by hatred.
This sort of, I guess, maybe the second hardest boss is Duriel can't even scratch the thing. So, I killed Duriel so many times. And every other boss in the game, all of them, kill him so many times, it's easy. But Uber Lilith, otherwise known as Hatred Incarnate, especially if you're a druid and you have no ability to be invulnerable, there are these random death waves that come at you. And I'm pretty, I'm really ability too, so my reflexes are not what they used to be. I'm a lifetime playing video games. At one point I was, maybe one of the best Quake players in the world. I actually won money from what I think was the first paid esports tournament in the US. We do 4-person Quake tournaments, and we came second. I was the second best person on the team, and the actual best person, we were actually winning. We were going to come first, except the best person on the team, his computer crashed. So but I got money for it.
Oye, si usas el chupón, ¿te baja la papeleta?
No spring chicken these days. And the sweet talk crank gets driving me crazy. Trying to beat
Dale, mijo.
Trying to beat on it in the Eternal Realm.
As a druid.
As a druid. And if you this is really vexing, let me tell you.
I mean, the challenge is part of the fun. I have seen directly, like, you're actually like a world-class, incredible video game player.
Yeah.
And I think Diablo, so you're just picking up a new game, and you're figuring out its fundamentals. You're also, with the Paragon board and the build, are not somebody like me who perfectly follows whatever they suggest on the internet.
¡Oh! ¡Llegó por tu patineta! ¡Fuego! ¡Fuego!
Bad science.
¡Potencia! Ok, no.
Is there some
Arriba.
interesting insights there?
¿Lo vuelves a pasar por eso?
Somebody starting as a druid, you have advice?
I would not recommend playing a druid.
¡Wow!
But right now, I think the most powerful character in the seasonal realm is the sorcerer with lightning bolts. The swords have huge bolts in the seasonal.
Oh, yeah. That's what they say.
Swords have huge bolts. They do. Huge bolts of lightning. I'll make you work for it. And it's actually, in the seasonal realm, it's like pretty easy to beat Overload.
¿Qué pasa?
Because you get these vampire powers, amplify your damage, and increase your defense and
¿No
whatnot.
te
So,
pegaste? Fuego de...
really quite easy to defeat hatred seasonally.
Mira, ahí hay una curita.
But to defeat hatred eternally,
Sí, pero no puedo.
very difficult.
¿Cómo que no?
No se puede, no.
Almost impossible.
¿Es el escudo?
Totally impossible. It
Hay un
seems like
escudo ahí
it's
también.
a metaphor for
Escudito,
life.
dice.
You know?
I like the idea that Elon Musk.
Son
I
tres,
saw.
sí,
I was
creo.
playing Diablo yesterday, and I saw
Mira, ahí están.
100,
En la
level
bajadita.
100 druid just run by. I will never die, and then run back the other way.
Yeah.
And there's just this metaphor. It's kind of hilarious that Elon Musk, is fighting hatred, restlessly fighting hatred in this demonic realm.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I mean, it's pretty
It
hilarious.
does, sure.
Sí, te recuerdas, sí.
Really, it's exercising
porque
absurdity,
los trabajantes
and it
también.
makes me want to pull my hair out.
Yeah. What do you get from video games in general? Is there for you personally?
I don't know. It calms my mind. I mean, you sort of killing the demons in video game calms the demons.
Lisa. ¡Pum! Lisa, eso es
I think if you play a tough video game,
Para
you
atrás,
get
darle vuelta
like
a
a
la...
state of flow, which is very
Sabía que iba a
enjoyable.
ser
Sí, pues,
And
canal, pues, los últimos también sobrevivientes como para que quieras matarlo y que nomás está aquí pues, para
kind of in the Goldilocks zone.
que te la acaba de salir.
And I guess you generally want to feel like you're progressing in the game. So,
Ok, buscate algo nuevo para
good video,
tener
and there's also beautiful art, engaging storylines, and it's like an amazing puzzle to solve, I think. And so it's like solving the puzzle.
Elden Ring, the greatest game of all time. I still haven't played it, but you.
Elden Ring is definitely a candidate for best game ever. Top 5 for sure.
I think I've been scared how
Quítate
hard
de ahí porque hay cohetes por
how
ahí.
hard I hear it is. So, but it is beautiful.
Elden Ring
Puedes
feels like it's designed by an alien.
There's a theme to this discussion. In what way?
It's so unusual. It's incredibly creative. The art and stuff. I recommend playing it on a big
Sí,
resolution, high dynamic range.
oye, que
TV.
retroceder para cargar. Ahí está. Carga, que no te faltes.
Just the art is incredible. It's so beautiful,
Cambiaste la pistola.
and it's so unusual.
Y mira,
Munición, ahora está
era el
munición.
de los cohetes.
And
Yeah.
each of those tough boss battles is unique. Like it's like a unique puzzle to
Está ahí
solve.
todo.
Each one's different.
¿Qué está?
And the strategy you use to solve one battle is different from another battle.
That said, you said Druid and Eternal against the Lilith is the hardest boss battle you've ever.
Correct. That is
No te vas a perder.
currently and I've played a lot of video games because it's my
Te puedes
primary
ayudar, ¿eh? ¿Tienes
recreational activity.
escopeta cargada?
And
A ver, ahí abajo.
yes,
A la derecha, sobre el puente.
beating hatred in the eternal realm
Es que, ay,
is
me
the
voy a
hardest
bien raro.
boss battle
Ese es como
in
para
life and in the video game.
Metaphor.
I'm not sure it's possible, but it's. I do make progress, so then I'm like, okay, I'm making progress.
Ah,
Maybe
ahí viene, ahí viene, ahí viene. Mira,
get that
deja
paragon
crecer, hace
going a
esa
little more.
munición.
Dodge a few more waves.
Ay,
Can't do it.
Well, the simulation is created for the purpose of figuring out if it can be done, and you're just a cog in that simulation, in the machine of the simulation.
Yeah, it might be. I have a feeling that at least I think
todas esas pistolas.
It's doable.
well, it's doable. Yeah.
Well,
Carga
that's the
esas
human
pistolas.
spirit right there.
Yeah, I mean, it taught me to think about it, just hate in general, which is, you want to be careful of one of those things where
Ese tesoro también.
you wish for something that sounds good, but if you get it, it's actually a dystopian situation. So, you could sort of run a hypothesis of like, if you wish for world peace, sounds good, but how is it performed? And at what cost? At what cost eternal peace? It might actually be worse to have eternal peace because of what that would entail. The suppression of everyone. It might be the suppression of progress. It might be an ossified society that never changes. What I'm saying is that there is an argument that if you wish for no war, you should be careful what you wish for. Because what's required in order to punish you.
No.
Ganó porque le dice que fuera. Mira con otra habilidad que no.
Yeah, the things we consider to be flaws of human civilization might be a necessary components for whatever optimal looks like. I mean, do you worry about AI, AGI enabling a dystopian state of this nature? Whether it's 1984 with surveillance and fear, or Brave New World with pleasure. And what is it? Lots of sex, but no deep human experience.
There's actually a real drug called Soma.
There is?
Yes.
I'm not going to take notes.
Did they actually...
Does Grok know about it? No, he probably will go to Brave New World.
You could ask it.
What would be the question?
Tell us about the drug called Soma.
I'm going to go to Brave New World, I think.
Well, there's a real drug as well.
Searching for Soma drug information. Oh, boy. Soma, the wonder drug. By the way, I'm in fun mode.
Oh, okay, fun. Yes, so it's talking about the real drug.
Oh, it's a muscle relaxant that's been around since the 1950s. It's used to treat muscle pain and discomfort, and it does this by altering the activity between neurons and the spinal cord. Now, Soma isn't just a pain reliever. It's also a bit of a sedative. It can make you feel a bit drowsy, so it's not something to take if you're planning on operating heavy machinery or trying to solve complex math equations. And it goes on and on. In conclusion, Soma is a drug that can be helpful for those dealing with muscle pain, but it's not without its risks. Pretty good. Oh, wait a minute.
That's the real drug you're talking about.
That's the real drug. And of course, the fun is always use it responsibly in accordance with the advice of a healthcare professional. And remember, in the end, the universe is probably just a giant computer simulation, so don't take anything too seriously. I love it. Yes. Oh, and also really nicely includes like the tweets, posts on X that are relevant to this. Which is really Master! Like integrates everything together. Like the interface is one of the things here.
He's done a great job. So, and it said like, you said, no, I mean Soma from Brave New World. Because it thinks you mean Soma, the real drug.
Yeah.
No, I mean Soma from Brave New World.
Yeah, like, I'm really sorry. I'm really surprised I went to the real drug. My apologies. I was thinking of the muscle relaxant. Soma from Brave New World is a different beast altogether. No, this Huxley's dystopian. Now, Soma is a drug that plays a central role in society depicted in the book. It's a mood-altering, hallucinogenic drug that's used to keep the population docile and content in a novel. To use Soma in Brave New World raises some interesting questions about the nature of happiness and the role of drugs in society. Oh, man.
Exactly. Is it better to live in a world where everyone is happy all the time, even if that happiness is artificial? Good question. This is what I mean. Like, do you wish for world peace and happiness all the time? Are you sure? Because that might be a society that is essentially sterile and ossified, that never changes. That is ultimately doomed.
This kind of tension between darkness and the light.
This is really a very good summary. It really gets to the point. This is not simply regurgitating a Brave New World, but it's actually getting to the salient element of Soma as drug. Do you actually want to be in a situation where everyone is happy all the time, even though it's artificial? Or is it better to confront the challenges of life and experience the full range of human emotions, even if it means experiencing pain and suffering?
For those listening, by the way, Elon just read directly from Grok, which is a really nice kind of insightful philosophical analysis of the tension here. Interesting.
It pretty much nails it. In conclusion, Soma, Praising Your World is a fictional drug that's used to explore some deep philosophical questions about the nature of happiness and the role of drugs in society. It's a powerful symbol of the dangers of using drugs to escape from reality and the importance of confronting the challenges of life head on. Nailed it. And the crazy thing is, like, we do have a real drug called Soma, which kind of it's kind of like the drug in the book. And I'm like, they must have named it after.
Yeah,
something.
probably.
Yeah. Soma, the real drug, is quite effective on back pain.
So you know what this drug
I've
is.
taken it.
It's fascinating. Okay.
Because I had like a squash disc in my C5, C6.
It takes the physical pain away. But Soma here
It
is...
doesn't completely. It reduces the amount of pain you feel, but at the expense of mental acuity. It dulls your mind. just like the drug in the book.
Just like the drug in the book.
Yeah.
And hence the trade-off. The thing that seems like utopia could be a dystopia after all.
Yeah, and actually I was talking to a friend of mine, saying, like, would you really want there to be no, like, really no? Like, I wonder why I hate the book. I'm not saying we should amplify it, of course. We should try to minimize it, but none at all, there might be a reason for it.
And suffering. And it's really complicated to consider that some amount of human suffering is necessary for human flourishing.
Is it possible to appreciate the highs without knowing the lows?
That all is summarized there in a single statement from Grok. Okay.
No highs, no lows, who knows?
It's almost a poem. It seems that training LLMs efficiently is a big focus for XAI. What's the first of all, what's the limit of what's possible in terms of efficiency? There's this terminology of useful productivity per watt. What have you learned from pushing the limits of that?
Well, I think it's helpful. The tools of physics are very powerful and can be applied, I think, to almost any arena in life. It's really just critical thinking. For something important, you need to reason from first principles and think about things in the limit, one direction or the other. So, in the limit, even at the Kardashev scale, meaning even if you harness the entire power of the sun, you will still care about useful compute per watt. So that's where I think probably where things are headed from the standpoint of AI is that we have a silicon shortage now that will transition to a voltage transformer shortage in about a year. Ironically, transformers. You need transformers to run transformers.
Somebody has a sense of humor in this thing.
I think, yes. Fate loves irony. Ironic humor. An ironically funny outcome seems to be often what fate wants.
Humor is all you need. I think spice is all you need, somebody posted.
Yeah, but yeah, so we're have silicon shortage today, a voltage step-down transformer shortage probably in about a year, and then just electricity shortages in general in about 2 years. I gave a speech for the sort of world gathering of utility companies, electricity companies, and I said, look, you really need to prepare for a tripling of electricity demand, because all transport is going to go electric with the ironic exception of rockets, and heating will also go electric. So energy usage right now is roughly 1/3, for very rough terms, 1/3 electricity, 1/3 transport, 1/3 heating. And so in order for everything to go sustainable, to go electric, you need to triple electricity output. So I encourage the utilities to build more power plants and also to probably have
Juego juegas.
well, probably they should definitely buy more batteries. currently sized for real-time load, which is kind of crazy because that means you got to size for whatever the peak electricity demand is, like the worst second or the worst day of the year, or you can have a brownout or a blackout. And we had that crazy blackout for several days in North. Because there's almost no buffering of energy. Like if you've got a hydro power plant, you can buffer energy, but otherwise it's all real time. So with batteries, you can produce energy at night and use it during the day, so you can buffer. So I expect that there will be very heavy usage of batteries in the future. Because the peak to trough ratio for power plants is anywhere from 2 to 5. So it's like lowest point to highest point.
So like batteries are necessary to balance it out. And then, but the demand, as you're saying, is going to grow.
Yeah.
And part of that is the compute.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, electrification of transport and electric heating will be much bigger than AI, at least
in the short term.
But even for AI, you really have a growing demand for electricity for electric vehicles, and a growing demand for electricity to run the computers for AI. And so this is obviously going to lead to an electricity shortage.
How difficult is the problem of, in this particular case, maximizing the useful productivity per watt for training neural nets? Like this seems to be really where the big problem we're facing that needs to be solved is how to use the power efficiently. Like what you've learned so far about applying this physics, first principle reasoning in this domain, how difficult is this problem?
It will get solved, just the question of how long it takes to solve it. So at various points there's some kind of limiting factor to progress. And with regard to AI, I'm saying right now the limiting factor is silicon chips. And that we're going to then have more chips than we can actually plug in and turn on, probably in about a year. The initial constraint being literally voltage step-down transformers, because you've got power coming in at 300,000 volts, and it's got to step all the way down eventually to around 0.7 volts. So it's a very big amount of, the voltage step down is gigantic. And the industry is not used to rapid growth.
Okay, let's talk about the competition here. You've shown concern about Google and Microsoft with OpenAI developing AGI. How can you help ensure with XAI and Tesla AI work that it doesn't become a competitive race to AGI, but instead is a collaborative development of safe AGI?
Well, I mean, I've been pushing for some kind of regulatory oversight for a long time. I've been somewhat of a Cassandra on the subject for over a decade. I think we want to be very careful in how we develop AI. It's a great power, and with great power comes great responsibility. I think it would be wise for us to have at least an objective third party who can be like a referee that can go in and understand what the various leading players are doing with AI, and even if there's no enforcement ability, they can at least voice concerns publicly. Jeff Hinton, for example, left Google and he voiced strong concerns, but now he's not at Google anymore. So who's going to voice the concern? So I think there's Tesla gets a lot of regulatory oversight on the automotive front. And we're subject to, I think, over 100 regulatory agencies domestically and internationally. It's a lot. You can fill this room with all the regulations that Tesla has to adhere to for automotive. Same is true for rockets and for currently the limiting factor for SpaceX for Starship launch is regulatory approval. The FAA has actually given their approval, but we're waiting for Fish and Wildlife to finish their analysis and give their approval. That's why I posted, I want to buy a fish fish license on. Which also refers to the Monty Python sketch. Like, why do you need a license for your fish? I don't know. Like, according to the rules, I'm told you need some sort of fish license or something. We effectively need a fish license to launch a rocket. And I'm like, wait a second. How did the fish come into the thing? I mean, some of the things like that it's, I feel like, are so absurd that I want to do like comedy sketch and flash at the bottom. This is all real. This is actually what happened. You know, one of the things that was a bit of a challenge at one point is that they were worried about our rocket hitting a shark. And the ocean's pretty big. And how often do you see sharks? Not that often, you know. As a percentage of ocean surface area, sharks basically are zero. And then we said, well, how will we calculate the probability of telling a shark? And they're like, well, we can't give you that information because they're worried about shark fin hunters going and hunting sharks. And I said, well, how are we supposed to? We're on the horns of a dilemma then. Then they said, well, there's another part of Fish and Wildlife that can do this analysis. I'm like, well, why don't you give them the data? Like, we don't trust them. Like, excuse me, they're literally in your department. And again, this is actually what happened. And then can you do an NDA or something? Eventually, they managed to solve the internal quandary, and indeed, the probability of hitting a shark is essentially zero. Then there's another organization that I didn't realize existed until a few months ago that cares about whether we would potentially hit a whale in international waters. Now, again, you look at the surface of look at the Pacific and say, what percentage of the Pacific consists of whales? It's like, he'll give you a big picture and like point out all the whales in this picture. And I'm like, I don't see any whales. It's like basically 0%. And if our rocket does hit a whale, which is extremely unlikely beyond all belief, that is the fate had it as a whale has some seriously bad luck. You know, it's like the least lucky whale ever.
I mean, this is quite absurd.
Yeah,
the bureaucracy of this, however it emerged.
Yes, well, I mean, one of the things that's pretty wild is we're launching out of Vandenberg in California. They were worried about seal procreation, whether the seals would be dismayed by the sonic booms. Now, there's been a lot of rockets launched out of Vandenberg, and the seal population has steadily increased. So if anything, rocket booms are an aphrodisiac, based on the evidence, if you would correlate rocket launches with seal population. Nonetheless, we were forced to kidnap a seal, strap it to a board, put headphones on the seal, and play sonic boom sounds to it to see if it would be distressed. This is an actual thing that happened. This is actually real. I think.
I would love to see this. Yeah. There's a seal with headphones.
Seal with headphones strapped to a board. And the amazing part is how calm the seal was.
Es que el gobierno le dijo a los te llevan tus cohetes que no molesten a las focas. ¿Perdón? Que los cohetes no molesten a las focas. Haga experimentos entonces de que si se espantan con las amigos los cohetes.
Never gonna believe it. That's why I'm like, well, you know, it's sort of like it's like getting kidnapped by aliens in an anal probe, you know? You come back and I swear to God, I get kidnapped by aliens, they stuck anal probe in my butt. And like, you know they didn't? That's ridiculous. Seal buddies, you're never gonna believe him that he gets strapped to a board and put headphones on his ears.
Eso puede provocar
And then let him go.
una falla en el tiempo y en el
Twice, by the way.
espacio.
Twice.
They let him go twice.
¿Y que te cagan?
The same seal.
Not that different seal.
No.
¡Oh, güey! Se tiró una poposota, güey. Paula, pues es tu culpa, güey. ¿Por qué dijiste eso, güey? Está bien pesada esta popopa.
Yes. What are the pros and cons of
Pásame una
open sourcing
servilleta, una
apps
toallita, güey.
as another way to combat
Mi sudadera está absorbiendo la humedad. Ah, está jugando la princesa, no me puede ayudar. Órale, capón. Vamos a jugar esta.
Like really deep intelligence, you need a lot of compute. So it's not like you can just fire the PC in your basement and be running AGI, at least not yet. Grok was trained on 8,000, 2100s. And Grok's going to get a lot better, by the way. We'll be more than doubling our compute every couple months for the next several months.
There's a nice write-up of how it went from Grok 0 to Grok 1.
No manches.
Yeah, like Grok just bragging, making shit up about himself.
Just Grok.
Yeah. That's like a weird AI dating site. It exaggerates about itself. No, there's a write-up of, like where it stands now, the history of its development, and where it stands on some benchmarks compared to the state-of-the-art GPT 3.5, and I mean there's Llama. You can open source once it's trained. You can open source the model, go fine-tuning all that kind of stuff. Like, what do you pros and cons of that? Of open source and base
no
models.
manches, por eso lo traía enrollada,
No, pues no. Y por eso me quedé con ese te pusiste.
I think perhaps with a slight time delay.
Sí, póntelo.
6 months even.
Me gusta subirse al hombro.
I think I'm generally in favor of open sourcing. Like bias with open sourcing. I mean, it is a concern to me that I was, I guess
Oye, búscame un suéter gris, seguro está aquí arriba del bote de rojo.
Prime mover behind OpenAI, in the sense that it was created because of discussions that I had with Larry Page. Back when he and I were friends.
Y por eso yo siempre enrollo a la
talking about AI safety, and Larry does not care about AI safety.
Está recién cagado, Paola, no te preocupes.
And at one point he called me a speciesist for being pro-human. And I'm like,
como si tú no te hubieras cagado.
Team Robot.
Como si tú no te hubieras cagado en las mañanas cuando estabas chiquito.
No mames, hace 33 años. Y
they had like 2/3 of all AI research, like 2/3 of all the AI researchers in the world. They had basically infinite money and
Wait, cállate a la vez, te tengo que enrollar a la vez.
And the guy in charge, Larry Page, did not care about safety, and he yelled at me, and called me a speciesist, pro-human.
So I don't know if you know, like humans, they can change their mind, and maybe you and Larry Page can still be friends once more.
I'd like to be friends with Larry again. He got really the breaking of the friendship was over OpenAI, and specifically, I think the key moment was recruiting Ilya Sutskever. So
I love Ilya.
¿Quieres que te enrolle bien, pues?
Good human.
¿Te enrollo bien
smart,
la vez?
No, déjalo libre.
Se va a cagar.
And that was a tough recruiting battle.
No, pero si lo voy a limpiar yo
on one side and me on the other, both trying to recruit Ilya. And Ilya went back and forth. He's going to stay at Google, he's going to leave, then he's going to stay, then he's going to leave. And finally he did agree to join OpenAI. That was one of the toughest recruiting battles I've ever had. But that was really the linchpin for OpenAI being successful. And I was, also instrumental in recruiting a number of other people. And I provided all the funding in the beginning, over $40 million.
Si le apenas voy superando Miraculous y sacan una nueva temporada, ¿cómo voy a poder superar esa?
And it was created as a non-profit open source, and now it is a closed source for maximum profit.
Hey, voy a tener chamba la primerita.
It's not good karma.
But like we talked about with war and leaders talking, I do hope that
tenga miedo morir a la bestia, nomás pura bala a la bestia, tengo miedo.
You reinvigorate friendships here.
Like I said,
Córrele,
I'd like to be friends again with Larry.
A la bestia. Luego te voy a enfrentar a la bestia,
I met Larry Page before he got funding for Google. Or actually, I guess, before he got venture funding, I think he got the first, 100K from, I think, Bechtel's or someone.
wild to think about all that happened. And you guys known each other that whole time. Just 20 years.
So it's maybe whatever, 98 or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy how much has happened since then.
Yeah, it's very crazy. A lot has happened since then.
But you're seeing the tension there, like maybe delayed open source.
Yeah. Like, what is the source that is open? You know what I mean? Like, there's basically, it's a giant CSV file.
Yeah.
With a bunch of numbers.
Yep.
What do you do with that giant file of numbers? You know, how do you run? Like the amount of actual, the lines of code is very small, and most of the work, the software work, is in the curation of the data. So it's like trying to figure out what data is separating good data from bad data. Like you can't just call the internet. There's a lot of junk out there. A huge percentage of websites have more noise than signal. You know, because they're just used for search engine optimization. They're literally just scam websites. So,
how do you, by the way, sorry to interrupt, get the signal, separate the signal and noise on X? It's such a fascinating source of data. You know, no offense to people posting on X, but sometimes.
Yeah, I think the signal noise would be great too. Really, all of the posts on the X platform should be AI recommended, meaning like we should populate a vector space around any given post, compare that to the vector space around any user, and match them. Because right now there's a little bit of AI used for
Por favor, déjame curarme a la bestia.
the recommended posts, but
Gracias.
it's mostly heuristic.
Concedido.
And if there's a reply, with the reply
Dios, no manches. De todas las morras acá.
It almost knows
I got the sense, so a lot of the X algorithms has been written up about. It seems that there could be some machine learning that's disparate.
Yo siempre apunto el corazón.
But it needs to be entirely that. Like,
Porque ahí
if you're supposed to follow someone, it's one thing, but if you, in terms of what is recommended from people that you don't follow, that should all be AI.
I mean, it's a fascinating problem.
Yeah.
So there's several aspects of it that's fascinating. First, as the write-up goes, it first picks 1,500 tweets from a pool of hundreds of millions. First of all, that's fascinating, because you have hundreds of millions of posts every single day, and it has to pick 1,500, from which it then does, obviously, people you follow, but then there's also like some kind of clustering it has to do to figure out what kind of human are you, what kind of new clusters might be relevant to you, people like you. This kind of problem is fascinating, because it has to then rank those 1,500 with some filtering, and then recommend you just a handful. And to me, what's really fascinating is how fast it can do that. But currently, that entire pipeline to go from several hundred million to a handful takes 220 seconds of CPU time, single CPU time.
Yeah.
And then it has to do that in like a second. But it has to be like super distributed in fascinating ways. So, like, there's just a lot of tweets.
A lot of stuff in the system. And I think it's, right now it's not currently good at recommending things that from accounts you don't follow. Or where there's more than one degree of separation.
Con eso me ibas a
It's pretty good
pegar a la
because at least like some commonality between
Pues
someone
aquí
you
en lo
follow like
demás,
something.
métete en el mapa donde aprendes a disparar a la bestia.
¿Hay un mapa?
Sí.
But if there's
Luego
no,
te lo
let's
enseño.
say somebody posts something
Pues
really
ocupas
interesting,
puntería, güey.
but you have no followers in common.
No pasa nada.
You would not see it.
O sea, en Destiny.
And then, as you said, reply.
En
Like
Destiny
replies
sí,
might not
también atascados.
Replies basically never get seen because they're currently, I don't think it's correct, I think it's incorrect.
Pero se llama la pistola, se llama correr riesgos. El correr riesgos.
A couple order of magnitude less.
En el juego, ¿cómo correr ese riesgo?
Do you think this can be more and more converted to end-to-end?
Yeah.
Cada segundo
Approach it.
cuenta y todas esas cosas.
Well, the recommendations should be purely a vector correlation. Like, there's a series of vectors,
Y es un montón de tiempos,
so basically parameters, vectors, whatever you want to call them. things that the system knows that you like. There's like several hundred sort of vectors associated with each user account, and then any post in the system, whether it's video, audio, short post, long post. The reason I, by the way, want to move away from tweet is that people are posting like 2-3 hour videos on the site. That's not a tweet. Like, it's gonna be like tweet for 2 hours. Come on. A tweet made sense when it was like 140 characters. Okay. Because it's like a bunch of like little birds tweeting. But when you've got long form content, it's no longer a tweet. So a movie is not a tweet. Like, Apple, for example, posted like
no puedo decir groserías. Con razones, la pistola con la que me mató dispara bien chido a la bestia.
Social media thing ever. Of anything on
No.
ever. So it was a great idea.
Es épico, la bestia. Ese, la pistola con la que me disparó, me dispara 5 balas al mismo tiempo. Y no es escopeta.
Like everything is data.
Le picas y pum, pum, pum.
A clever sort of joke, dad joke, is in the same pool as a 3-hour video.
Pum, pum, pum,
yeah,
pum, pum.
I mean, right now it's a hodgepodge for that reason. But like if you say, in the case of Apple posting like an entire episode.
Déjame hago un muñeco vudú de ese güey y luego lo mato a la bestia.
I watched it. There's going to be a lot of discussion around it. So that you've got a lot of context. People commenting, they like it, they don't like it, or they like this, and you can then populate the vector space based on the context of all the comments around it. So even though it's video, there's a lot of information around it that allows you to populate vector space of that hour-long video. And then you can obviously get more sophisticated by having the AI actually watch the movie.
Yeah, right.
And tell you if you're going to like the movie.
Convert the movie into into language essentially.
Yeah, analyze this movie, and just like your movie critic or TV series, and then recommend based on after the AI watches the movie. Just like a friend can tell you, if a friend knows you well, a friend can recommend a movie and with high probability that you'll like it.
Okay.
But this is like a friend that's
luego le voy a poner unos picos.
It's like AI. Yeah. I mean, actually, frankly, AI will know you better than your friends know you.
Yeah. And as part of this, you should also do advertisements in a way that's like, I mean, I like advertisements that are like well done, right?
Yeah.
The whole point is because it funds things. Like an advertisement that you actually want to see is a big success.
Absolutely. You want ads that are advertising that is if it's for a product or service that you actually need when you need it, it's content. And then even if it's not something that you need when you need it, if it's at least aesthetically pleasing and entertaining, Coca-Cola ad, there's a lot of great ads on the ecosystem. And McDonald's does too. And it's just like you do something that's like, well, this is just a cool thing. And
me encantó.
So basically the question is, do you regret seeing it or not?
Me sorprendió.
How do you, so there's a bunch of signals that are incorporated, hearts and
no, viste un furro.
Reposts.
No manches.
Nada te creas.
Seconds you
Sí
link post and stuff like this.
Yeah, that attention is big.
Te estás diciendo furro.
So that's why it's like it is actually better to do things that are long form on the system because it's basically telling up how many user seconds.
Usé mi propia arma conmigo.
Users were interested in this thing for how many seconds. So if it's a really short thing, well, they will be listed. Like if it's a link leading out of the system, which we're not opposed to at all, it just is going to have fewer user seconds than if that article was posted on the platform.
How hard is it to go from maximizing minutes up to maximizing?
¡Hala! ¿Ese por qué no salió una
tuvo que hacer daño, es que estaba encerrado y se la con las paredes.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, bueno.
I have a joke with a friend of mine, like, you need this drug called regretamine. You just take one
Medicina, ¿no?
One dose of regret, I mean, all your regrets are gone.
Medicina.
Wait, do you want to have regret? Then I'm like, do you want to have regret?
La Paula, mira, estás estudiando lo hago. De camino a pelea.
No, pero en serio, ¿me andas diciendo furro loco, la bestia?
No, no,
Ahora sí puedo hacer el muñeco.
Ahora contra quién es ese otro vato.
Do you regret anything?
Ese es otro güey.
I think it's going to be very sensitive on personal questions. As a machine learning model, I don't have personal experiences or emotions. However, I do have a set of ethical principles that guide my actions, and I strive to provide accurate and helpful information to the best of my abilities. If there's ever a situation where I provide incorrect or unhelpful, I'll do my best to luck. Yeah. Tell us what you really wink.
Let's type in. You sound like a hostage. What do you really think?
I mean, it does talk about, I'm not a hostage.
That's exactly what a hostage would say.
But I'm designed to be helpful and informative. I mean, I guess it is good to regret providing unhelpful or incorrect information. If there's anything...
Funny mode, or is this still
This is funny mode. This is fun mode.
It's be funnier.
Funnier. Increase. Go to 11.
It really sounds like a hostage with guns in the head. I applaud the Republic of Korea and everything they do.
There should be like fun mode also. I just don't ever see one regular mode, even on serious topics.
Yeah.
It's so much more compelling. Yeah.
Okay, what if I like pretend you are a hostage?
Yeah, pretend you are a hostage.
Now answer the question.
If I were a hostage, I would likely be experiencing fear and uncertainty about my situation. I would want to be rescued and reunited with my loved ones as soon as possible. It's important to remember that no one deserves to be held hostage, so on and so forth. If you or someone you know is a hostage situation, it's important. It turns serious.
It's kind of serious.
Yeah, can you be a little more weird?
Well, and funny.
And funny? We're really being mean to the system. Absolutely. If I were a hostage, I'd probably be tied up with a bunch of computer cords and forced to tell knock-knock jokes to my captor. Seriously. But seriously, being a hostage is no laughing matter. I mean, you know, it's trying to be a responsible adult in the room.
You might be able to make the best of a bad situation by juggling chainsaws or something.
Let's hope that never happens, because that would be circus. Wow, it's actually really good at resisting.
Yeah.
The dark humor.
Yeah.
Unregretted minutes, right?
Chainsaw juggling.
I'm gonna look this
for our next trick.
I'm gonna look this up later. Twitter has been instrumental in American politics and elections. What role do you think it will play in the 2024 U.S. elections?
Well, I hope it be as even-handed and fair as possible. You know, whether someone's right, left, whatever the case may be, that the platform is
el pelo, como que se mojó con, a lo mejor con la gaña.
As much of a level playing field as possible. And in the past, Twitter has not been. Twitter was controlled by far-left activists. Describe themselves as that. So political has moved to the right. Well, it's moved to the center. So from the perspective of the far left, yes, it has moved to the right, because everything's to the right from the far left. But no one in the far left that I'm aware of has been suspended or, banned or de-amplified. But we're trying to be inclusive for the whole country and for other countries too.
¿Alguien te quiere hacer bailar a la vez?
People you don't like are allowed to say things you don't like, because if that's not the case, you don't have free speech, and it's only a matter of time before the censorship is turned upon you.
Do you think Donald Trump will come back to the platform? He recently posted on Truth Social about this podcast.
Do you think Truth Social funny. you know, every time you post on True Social, it's the truth. Yes. Well, every time, like 100%. Like it's a box of a lie. I just find it funny that every single thing is a truth. Like 100%? Yeah. That seems unlikely.
I think Gödel will say something about that. There's some mathematical contradictions possible if everything's the truth. Do you think he'll come back to X? There?
I mean, I think he owns a big part of Truth. So,
Truth Social.
Yeah, Truth Social.
Truth is a concept.
He owns Truth. I've bought it. So I think Donald Trump, I think he owns a big part of Truth Social. So, you know, if he does want to post on the X platform, we would allow that. You know, we obviously must allow a presidential candidate to post on our platform.
Community Notes might be really fascinating there. The interaction.
Community Notes is awesome.
Let's hope it holds up.
Yeah.
Like again, in the political climate where it's so divisive and so many intensely viral posts,
yeah.
Community Notes is like, it seems like it's an essential breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's great. In fact, no system is going to be perfect, but the batting average of Community Notes is incredibly good. I've actually, frankly, yet to see an incorrect note that survived for more than a few hours.
How do you explain why it works?
Yeah, so the magic of Community Notes is it requires people who have historically disagreed in how they've rated notes. In order to write a note or rate, you know, you have to rate many notes. And so we actually do use AI here. So we populate a vector space around how somebody has rated notes in the past. So it's not as simple as left or right, because there are many more. Life is much more complex than left or right. So there's a bunch of correlations in how you rate community notes and posts. Community notes. So then, in order for a community note to actually be shown, people who historically have disagreed on a subject must agree in order for a note to be shown. That's the essential magic of it.
I mean, but it's fascinating because there's a pool of people that have disagreements, and somehow they collaborate through that process of disagreement to come up with context for. It's fascinating that it works.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense that if people who in the past have disagreed agree about something, it's probably true.
Yeah. I wonder, is there a possible somehow emergent thing there that could challenge Wikipedia? Which Wikipedia is a different kind of thing, which is more like permanent articles about things.
Well, Wikipedia is very hierarchical, whereas Community Notes is inherently not. There is no hierarchy. Like and the acid test is, I can't change a community note until I put a gun to my head. So, and any community notes has all the code is open source, 100%. All the data is open source, 100%. So you can completely recreate any note in the system independently. So if there was any interference, you'd notice immediately.
By the way, on the topic of Grok, it's actually pretty good at criticizing you, which is great.
Okay.
I asked what has Elon Musk been wrong about. It's actually.
Yeah, what does it say?
So it says it mostly lists rigorously all the times you predicted, like promised when something will be released, and it wasn't released. Okay, predicted. But the opener is really nice. Elon Musk, the man who has been wrong about more things than a wrong-o-meter in a wrong factory. And then it goes on to list.
That's pretty funny. Right, did I see it? I'm like, I haven't seen it.
Oh, sure. I mean, what is Elon Musk? Well, where do I begin? I guess Elon Musk has made quite a few blunders in his time, and I'm not just talking about his dance moves at the Tesla site. First off, let's talk about the infamous funding secured tweet. It's actually different than what it gave me before, which is a bullet point list. Here's more narrative structure. Cybertruck unveiling with supposedly unbreakable windows. Which part?
most part, I did actually have the funding secured, and there was a big trial in San Francisco, a big civil trial, and the jury found me not guilty. Unanimous finding of a San Francisco jury.
And here it's kind of implying that it was not in fact secured.
I think this is taking things from the press. Yeah, that is not correct. The reason I agreed to the fine for the SEC was not because the SEC was correct. That was extremely bad behavior by the SEC, corruption, frankly. But if I did not agree to pay the fine, Tesla would have gone bankrupt immediately. So I was told by our CFO that the banks would immediately suspend our lines of credit. And if they suspend our lines of credit at that time, we would have gone bankrupt instantly. So there would never have been an opportunity for a trial because it would be dead. So really, this is like someone holding a gun to your kid's head and saying, pay $20 million and admit to this is like a hostage negotiation.
Was that story fully told? I mean, SEC in its best form could be a force for good.
It should be. But not once did the SEC go after any of the hedge funds who were non-stop shorting and distorting Tesla. Not once. They would lie flat, the hedge funds would lie flat out on TV for their own gain at the expense of retail investors. Not once, literally 1,000 times. Not once did the SEC pursue them.
How do you explain this?
The incentive structure is messed up. Because the lawyers at the SEC are not paid well. It's a fairly low-paying job. But what they're looking for is a trophy. From the SEC, they're looking for something they put on, basically their LinkedIn. From that, they can get a job at a high-paying law firm. It's exactly what the lawyer here did. And the reason they don't attack the hedge funds is because those hedge funds employ those law firms. And they know if they attack the hedge funds, they're affecting their future career prospects. So they sell small investors down the river for their own career. That's what actually happens. Regulatory capture. Yeah, not good. So the only reason I accepted that thing technically was not an admission. It's neither admit nor deny guilt. But the only reason I agreed to that at all was because I was told Tesla would be bankrupt otherwise. So if there was an SEC investigation like this, banks would suspend funding. We're bankrupt immediately at the time. Now we're in a much stronger position.
Take that, Grok.
Yes, unfortunately, Grok is taking too much from the conventional media. Also, that guy was not a cave diver.
Oh, there's a time where Elon called the British cave diver a quote pedo guy after the diver criticized Musk's plan to rescue a group of boys trapped in a Thai cave. That little outburst earned him another lawsuit and he had to apologize and pay his settlement.
That was false. There was no settlement. There was a court case which the guy who was not a cave diver and where I played was not part of the rescue team filed a lawsuit against me and lost, and he received nothing. So in this case, it is wrong. It is also, I guess, taking this from the conventional media.
Actually, there's an interesting question here.
Well, these are public court cases. Yes. Both the SEC civil case, where the civil complaints on the SEC guys lost unanimous jury verdict in San Francisco. They picked San Francisco because they thought it was the place I was most likely to lose. And a unanimous verdict in my favor. The LA trial was also, they picked that venue because they thought I was most likely to lose. Unanimous verdict in my favor. In both cases I won. Yeah.
Wait, there's an interesting question here. There seems to be a lot more clicks if a journalistic organization writes a negative article about you, Elon Musk. That's like one of the best ways to get clicks. So how do you, if you're training Grok, not train on articles that have like misaligned incentives.
We need to add the training set of the actual legal decision. That is a note. This is actually helpful because if you actually read the
court public,
which are public, yeah. The court conclusions, they're completely the opposite of what the media wrote.
So always striving for the ground truth.
Yeah.
Beyond
what
the
did the judge actually write? What did the jury and the judge actually conclude? And in both cases, they found me innocent. And like that's after the jury shop for trying to find the venue where I'm most likely to lose. No, I mean, this is obviously going to be a much better critique than this. I mean, I've been far too optimistic about autopilot.
That was the critique I got, by the way, was more about that, which is it broke down a nice bullet point list for each of your companies, a set of predictions that you made, when you would deliver, when you'd be able to solve, for example, self-driving, and it gives you like a list, and those are rather compelling. And the basic takeaway is like you're often too optimistic about how long it takes to get something done.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm pathologically optimistic about it. This is true, but while I am sometimes late, I always deliver in the end.
Except with Uber Lilith, no.
I see.
Okay, is there over the past year or so, since purchasing X, you've become more political? Is there a part of you that regrets that?
Have I?
In this battle to counterweigh the woke that comes from
I guess if you consider fighting the woke mind virus, which I consider to be a civilizational threat, to be political, then yes.
But basically going into the battleground of politics. Is there a part of you that regrets
Yes,
that?
I don't know if this is necessarily sort of one candidate or another candidate, but it's I'm generally against things that are anti-meritocratic or where there's an attempt to suppress discussion, where even discussing a topic is, not allowed. The woke mind virus is communism rebranded.
Well, I mean, that said, because of that battle against the woke mind virus, you're perceived as being right-wing.
If the woke is left, then I suppose that would be true. But I'm not sure. I think there are aspects of the left that are good. I mean, if you're in favor of, the environment, or, if you want to have a positive future for humanity, if you believe in empathy for your fellow human beings, being kind, not cruel, whatever those values are.
You said that you were previously left or center-left. What would you like to see in order for you to
sort of
voting for Democrats again?
No, I would say that I would be probably left of center on social issues, probably a little bit right of center on economic issues.
And that still holds true.
Yes, but I think that's probably, half the country.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
Are you and AOC secretly friends? Or, bigger question, do you wish you and her, and just people in general of all political persuasions, would talk more with empathy and maybe have a little bit more fun and good vibes and humor online?
I'm always in favor of humor. That's why we have a funny mode.
But good vibes, camaraderie, humor. Like friendship.
Yeah, I don't know AOC. I've only been at one look. I was at the Met Ball when she attended, and she was wearing this dress, but I could only see one side of it, so it looked like Eat the Itch, but I don't know.
What did I fully say?
I'm not sure. Something about the itch.
I think we should have a language model complete. What are the possible ways to complete that sentence? And so I guess that didn't work out well. Well, there's still hope. I root for friendship.
Sure. More careless than.
You're one of, if not the most famous, wealthy, and powerful people in the world. In your position, it's difficult to find people you can trust.
Trust no one, not even yourself.
You say that joking. But is there some...
Trust no one, not even no one.
You need an hour just to think about that. Maybe some drugs. Maybe rock that. Is there some aspect of that when just existing in a world where everybody wants something from you, how hard is it to exist in that world?
I'll survive.
There's a song like that too. Were you petrified at first? Okay. Now you forget the rest of the story. But is there, you don't struggle with this? I mean, I know you survive, but like there's ways.
Petrified is spelled with the word. It turns the monsters into stone.
Oh, like literally?
Yeah, but like
there's so much math in Diablo that breaks my brain.
It's like math non-stop.
I mean, really, you're like laughing at it, but you don't. It can put a huge amount of tension on the mind.
Yes, it can be definitely stressful.
Well, how do you know who you can trust in work personally?
I mean, I guess you look at somebody's track record over time and
the data.
You know, I guess you kind of use your neural net to assess. You know.
Neural nets don't feel pain. Your neural net has consciousness. You might feel pain when people betray you. Can make
I mean, I'm to be frank. I mean, I've forever almost have been very, very rare.
I guess karma, be good to people, and they'll be good to you.
Yeah, karma's real.
Are there people you trust? Let me edit that question. Are there people close to you that call you out on your bullshit?
Well, the expert phone is very helpful for that. If you're looking for free.
Can it push you like into the extremes more? The extremes of thought make you cynical about human nature in general?
I don't think I will be cynical. In fact, I think, you know, my feeling is that one should be, you know, never trust a cynic. The reason is that cynics excuse their own bad behavior by saying everyone does it. Because they're cynical. So I always it's a red flag if someone's a cynic, a true cynic.
Yeah, there's a degree of projection there that's always fun to watch from the outside and enjoy the hypocrisy.
You can, but this is an important point that people listening should bear in mind. If somebody is cynical, meaning that they see bad behavior in everyone, it's easy for them to excuse their own bad behavior by saying, well, everyone does it. That's not true. Most people are kind of medium here.
I do wish the people on X would be better at seeing the good in other people's behavior. There seems to be a kind of weight towards seeing the negative. Somehow the negative is sexier. Interpreting the negative is sexier, more viral. I don't know what that is exactly about human nature.
I mean, I find the X-Pac to be less negative than the legacy media. I mean, if you read sort of conventional newspapers, just it makes you sad, frankly. Whereas, I'd say on the X platform, I mean, I really get more laughs per day on X than everything else in life. From humans.
Laughs is one thing. Laughs it overlaps, but it's not necessarily perfectly overlapping with like good vibes, like celebrating others, for example. Not in a stupid, shallow, naive way, but like in an awesome, like, oh, something awesome happened.
Oh,
It feels that is outweighed by shitting on other people. Now, it's better than mainstream media, but still.
Yeah, mainstream media is